survive, next round is on me.
Minus, welcome to the deep dive. The horrors of Hoxties await you. Work hard, stay focused, and keep an eye on your objectives.
G'day everyone, it's LRMB here. Today I'm going to take you on my first ever successfully completed Elite Deep Dive. And on top of that, I did this one completely solo, no other players helping me here. So I'm going to provide you with a bit of a commentary as we go along about what I'm doing, skip some of the more boring parts and skip to the action or the objectives. And we'll see how this one goes. So the most important thing when playing solo is that you need to get enough nitra for your first supply drop. If you've got a group of 4, you've got 4 full dwarves worth of ammo to use, which means you can cover more of the cave before you need your first reload, which means you collect more nitra. So the biggest risk of playing solo is you run out of ammo before you have enough nitra. So always prioritize that nitra so you have enough for a supply drop, and then you have to call that supply drop as late as possible so that you can use it from any section of the cave, so you don't have to do too much backtracking. So we've got our first mini swarm here. Not a proper swarm, just a half swarm. Plenty of nitro around as well, so we've already hit that 80 cap, which is a big weight off my shoulders. It means at any time now I can call a resupply and completely restock. So I got a few guys there, got a spitter there, so just backing up a little, seeing those guys do a lot of range damage. And although the warden, the pink guy there protecting the grunts, is the priority target, if there's a million grunts between us and them, it is safer just to spend the extra ammo taking down the buffed up grunts than it is trying to push through them all and get straight to the wardens, because otherwise you're just going to be taking so much incoming damage, you are probably going to die if you try and do that. So in this instance I take down the little guys first and then take down the wardens, but you will see a point later on where that is reversed, where I focus the warden first and then clean up the little guys afterwards. And here we have our first swarm. So I'm in a bit of an awkward position here. There's a lot of random rock formations around me that the mobs can sneak around. So I check out my map there and see if there's a good place for me to hold up. And I notice there's a dead end up here. So this is a risky strategy because it very much limits my maneuverability. I'm not going to be able to survive by outmaneuvering the enemy bugs, but the driller does have a lot of firepower. The flamethrower is very strong. If you kill an enemy with direct damage from the flamethrower, it explodes and damages the enemies around them, so it's a very good anti-swarm weapon. So even though it's risky putting my back to a dead end, it's better than the environment I initially had, where there was just a ton of stalactites and stalagmites and just lots of places the bugs can sneak up on you, no real good sight lines. Whereas this one, they all pretty much come around that corner there, allowing you to concentrate your fire on a group of them without them having split up too much. I use the axes for my grenades or for my throwables on this build. As you saw there, it did a ton of damage to the Praetorian. So you've got your flamethrower, which is really good against mobs, especially when they're swarming and all grouped up. You've got your axes, which are really good against your armoured opponents, Praetorians specifically. And then as our secondary, that's our verse weak spot weapon. So it'll be really good mainly against your bosses and mini bosses that have weak spots. So wardens, they're pretty good against your giant spitballers, your brood mothers, swarm mothers, the giant mob that spawns the lots of little guys. We'll see one later on. I don't remember what the name is actually. And it's good against, your secondary is good against detonators as well, hitting those weak spots on the back. So this is the brood mother, swarm mother. Mother Swarmer, something like that. In this instance, I don't attack it very efficiently. The best thing to do is get Bosco to fire a frost grenade on it, and then just use your secondary weapon to take out the weak spots, and that does more damage to it.
Contact. 4, wait, 6, no, 12. A lot of aliens heading your way.
But in that instance, I use the Flamethrower, and although you get a bonus damage for setting something on fire that was previously frozen, for something with that much health, it's not worth it. So Control just mentioned we had a swarm, so this will actually be a good opportunity to test out how defensible this black box is. So I got a Warden there and lots of guys, so use my satchel charges with increased range, and that just murks a whole bunch of mobs there. So it almost one-shot the Warden, and it just took a tiny bit of Flamethrower at the end to finish it off. So you can get some really bad black box or defense mission spawns in this game, but this one is probably one of the best I've ever seen. It's just chilling right out there in the open, which is great for a build like the Driller. Doesn't really have any natural defenses. So your gunner has a shield, which is obviously great for defensive missions. They can just pop that down when they get in a bit of trouble, and it just clears all the mobs away from them.
Who's gonna protect you now,
Wave is significantly diminished.
And the gunner also has a zipline, which allows them to get a bit of elevation as well. So the gunner is a really strong character for it. Engineer is really strong because they can put turrets on either side of the objective, pointing inwards or outwards depending on your preference, and just create maybe a massive killing zone. So you can just kite around while your turrets do damage. And Scout, obviously, the #1 movability class, but I wouldn't bring that one to a defense mission at all. Just because it doesn't have the firepower. I wouldn't bring it on an elite deep dive at all, to be honest, unless you're the fourth person and you have to, because it just doesn't have the firepower to deal with swarms. Maybe I'm playing it wrong. We'll find out. I'm going to keep playing it, experimenting, see what I can do. So I'm out of ammo again, and I don't want to call another resupply, so I tunnel up to the one I previously dropped. I resupply on that one, and then I come back down my tunnel, build a black box, and let's get to the defense. And even though I spent a bit of time building that tunnel there, it is going to be incredibly helpful on exit as well. So for these linear missions, the drop pod always wants to pick you up at least 50% of the way back towards the start of the mission. So that tunnel will come again in helpful again soon. Now this is an incredibly chill swarm for the black box. I don't really know what's going on. With the amount of little swarmers, it looks like it's occasionally the game has a small chance, instead of getting a swarm that's just a mixture of a whole bunch of bugs, it's a specific bug swarm. So it can be swarmers, grunts, praetorians. This one's kind of looks like it's a swarmer spawn, and this is one of the easiest black box or mule defenses I have ever done. Like, this is just mind-numbingly easy, especially for an elite deep dive. So actually a little disappointing here. Definitely something you could have comfortably achieved on any class. But as you can see, just that one Praetorian getting into the zone is still quite dangerous, because then you get guys coming behind you while you're trying to deal with the high health, high armor enemy. You've got the web slingers shooting you from the ceiling. So even with a relatively chill swarm like that, I still took about 30% of my health in damage. So you always got to have that situational awareness, checking what's behind you, even when you're dealing with the big tanky guys in front of you. So here we have the tunnel coming in handy for the extraction. And I left the warden and everything down there because I'm hoping I don't have to kill them, and I can just carry my ammo over onto the next deep dive stage. Driller is also the best class for extracting, just because you can always drill straight to the drop pod without any problems. I definitely dawdled too much here. I kept checking my map, making sure I was going on the right trajectory, because I didn't realize there were so many guys spawning behind me, and I get absolutely murked in this tunnel here. But fortunately, Bosco was able to res me, and that was just completely unexpected. This is my only death of the entire Elite Deep Dive, and it happened in the dumbest way possible. So I switched to my Flamethrower, just start spamming that shit. It's great for clearing out dead ends like this. I get far enough away to drop my explosive. That deals with the Warden and any of the other guys that were still alive. And now I just gotta chill here. I didn't think about it ahead of time, but Molly had already pathfined before I dug that second tunnel. So now I have to chill up here and wait for Molly, unfortunately, and spend a bit of my ammo taking down these guys. So I use another satchel charge to take out the Warden. Very effective, because it almost always one-shots the Warden and takes down all their escorts. So very ammo efficient there. And we've got Molly here. So just gotta wait for Molly to board the dropship, and then we're ready for stage 2.
Good team effort. The deep dive is progressing smoothly.
So here we are, stage 2 deep dive, and immediately outside the drop pod there is a massive swarm of guys. So it's always important to not enter the next mission with 0 ammo, because that happens quite frequently. There's like a spitballer or a swarm, or there's something immediately outside the drop pod. It's a massive dick move by the game, but it does keep you on your toes. So this one, we're looking for Morkite and for eggs. So this one's going to be a little less linear than the last one. We're going to be running around a bit in the cave system, doing a bit of backtracking most likely, getting a bit lost, but we'll just check for those eggs on our map and mine the Morkite whenever we see it. And you shouldn't underestimate loot bugs, especially when playing solo as well. Just a little bit of nitra that they give really stacks up, and if you find yourself, especially at the end of a deep dive stage, just the loot bugs alone will give you enough for a full resupply. And also if you're in a pickle and you've got like 70 nitro or something, just 1 or 2 loot bugs can get you to that 80 benchmark to be able to call in a resupply drop. So loot bugs, absolutely essential for any solo play to help you hit that first 80 threshold, and then also to sustain you throughout the rest of the mission. By the end of it, the loot bugs alone will give you enough for a resupply. So I ordered my first resupply drop here. It's not in an ideal location. I haven't picked up any eggs yet, although I am tracking really well on the Morkite collection. But there comes a point where it gets risky to run with that low of ammo. So I use up 2 of the resupplies to get myself back to full, and now it's time to grab my first egg. Driller, I think, is one of the best solo classes. Not only does it have the firepower you need to deal with swarms all by yourself, drilling is also a crazy good mobility tool. So it's good for so many things. Obviously it's good for these eggs. These complex cave systems, we can just dig wherever we want. We don't have to follow the path set out by the spawn. Although we usually do, because it saves a bit of fuel, and unless the cave system is really convoluted, it's better just to follow the paths. So you always get a mini swarm after every egg, so we're just clearing those guys out before we move on. I tried to get Bosco to frost grenade the menace, because then that allows me to like one clip kill it with my secondary weapon here, but he hits the wall unfortunately. But here you go here, almost one clip. I think I started with a few less bullets. And we got a Brood Mother as well. Unfortunately, no more frost grenades in Bosco there. I currently have him kitted out for 3 revives and 2 grenades. Because like I said, this is the first time I've successfully done an elite deep dive, and I was needing those 3 revives per mission a lot more frequently than I was needing 3 frost grenades. But now I've been playing for a bit longer, and I'm a bit more comfortable with all the objectives. My reaction time with my classes is a bit better. Maybe it is time to swap those revives for extra firepower for Bosco, but we'll see. We'll see what I do on next week's deep dive. So we're at our second egg here, and I'm just trying to get the trajectory right so we can just drill straight through the wall to it nice and easy. And it looks like we can drill to multiple ones from this same location. And again, no swarm on this second egg, just a little mini swarm to deal with. And it's the mech terrors who are, yeah, very fun to deal with, those guys. But the flamethrower is almost always your tool for everything. I switched to the secondary for the goopers, just because they've got that weak spot on the side of them that does high amounts of damage if you hit it directly rather than with the flamethrower. So just a quick mini swarm there to avenge us for getting that egg. And I'm seeing another 2 eggs up here we can probably get using this same tunnel I already started, so we're going to go ahead and do that. I ended up building a second tunnel, but I got to the egg pretty quickly anyway. I took some damage through the wall there, so there might have been like a radiating crystal on the other side, not sure about that. But anyway, we've got our mini swarm, and this mini swarm after the egg is a detonator. This one might have actually spawned after the last egg, just because it's so slow it took forever to get to me. Not sure about that one. But anyway, detonators, they're not too difficult. You just have to, you know, keep your situational awareness up, make sure you always know where it is. Make sure you always have a path to move, so you can get away from its one-shot AoE. But for the detonator, we primarily use our second weapon, just to pop those weak spots on it. And then when the weak spots are down, just shooting it right in the mouth there. And just some flamethrower to finish it off. And that's going to blow up, and we're going to be plenty far enough away there. No problems at all. And it looks like we got a mini bit of a swarm here after the detonator as well. It's unfortunate the detonator didn't blow these guys up when it died, but that's okay. We're at a pretty rough spot here as well in this tight little cabin, so I'm moving back out into the open where the detonator spawn was. But it doesn't appear necessary. It looks like everything is dead now, just those half a dozen guys post-detonator. So now we are back onto the egg hunt. So we're at our next egg here. So we're just gonna get set up with this nitra first before we grab the egg, and we've got Molly nice and close. One of the more difficult things about running in a group, especially for egg collection, is you'll have people fighting over Molly. So people will get an egg on one side of the map and call Molly, but then at the same time, you're being very efficient with your egg mining, but your team are mining eggs on opposite sides of the map, but so you're not being very efficient with the egg dropping off. But that's okay. So we're going to go back to the spot we were in before with the supply drop, and where our first egg was picked up. We have about 15 seconds from when control advises of swarm to when it arises. So we're just going to stock up on some ammo and take care of this swarm. Good things about having a flamethrower with the Praetorians is they leave behind a gas cloud, which you can then explode with the flamethrower, and kill a whole bunch of other guys around them. Unfortunately, this is the radiation map, so the Praetorians do not drop a gas cloud. Same with when you are in the ice biome, the Praetorians there do not drop a gas cloud, they drop a cold cloud. So most of the time, having Praetorians plus a Flamethrower is really effective. Because it just adds that you're already a crazy AoE build, and it just adds even more AoE to that. So the environment does damage these guys as well. So if you can keep running the mobs around past the radiation crystals, they will take damage, which is awesome. So especially helpful if you're low on ammo, and it's happened to me in groups a few times as well, especially when playing the Scout. You often find you're the last person left alive, and Scout doesn't have very good ammo efficiency. So I'm running around, I just shoot Bosco there because he freaks me out. So that was a bit of a waste of ammo. But running around as Scout, trying to res your teammates, you've used up all your ammo, and the only way you can kill things is with your pickaxe and running them past radiation crystals. It's not very efficient, but it is effective. So definitely use the environment to your advantage, I guess, is the whole point of that spiel there. So we've dealt with that swarm, time to restock again, and then we'll go finish getting the last of our eggs. So we're going to use Bosco for this one. He's very useful in wide open areas where you have to collect the quarks or eggs. So rather than bother myself digging down to that one, we're going to get Bosco to carry it, and then we're just going to dig down to the other egg. But our plans get a bit messed up by this swarm coming, and right as the swarm comes, I aggro a spitballer. So fortunately Bosco's back on decent land, so we get him to fire a rocket. The absolute fucker misses with his first rocket and shoots the terrain, so I had to get him to shoot a second rocket there. But the spitballers are nothing when they are frozen. So a driller running the cryo cannon, a scout with a frost grenade, or Bosco with the frost grenade, spitballers are just a walk in the park. So I would definitely recommend the frost grenade for Bosco. It just has crazy good utility, especially against those big boss enemies that tend to be your downfall. So this isn't the best location to fight a swarm in, but I was kind of stuck for choices this time. So I think that was one of the first times I actually used my speed boost so far, but that's one of my active skills. And it really helps get out of those sticky situations. It has saved my life so many times. It doesn't sound terribly effective from the description. You get like 2 seconds, if that, of boosted speed. But what that does, it allows you to get out from a surrounded situation, get far enough away to get a reload off or to drop a satchel charge, and then get out of the satchel charge radius, and then get back into the fight. So that little active speed boost has saved me so many times. So I could not play without it. The only class I don't play it with is the Scout, because obviously that has some very good built-in mobility there. That would just be a waste of a slot. But for all other 3 classes, 100% recommend the dash skill. So we're making liberal use of the red sugar that's dotted around this area just to keep topped up. Don't want to get into too much of a risky situation. And this is the egg Bosco kindly got for us. So we're going to deposit that. And then there's only one more egg left to go, and a little bit of Morkite left to go. So here we are at the last egg, just tunneling down to it. Very effective utility skill of the driller, so we take full advantage of it. And on our way here we also picked up one more Morkite vein, which was enough to finish off that second objective. So before we... See, I was gonna say, before we pick up the egg, I make sure I have a path to drill out but I specifically don't do that, which is a dumb thing to do. You should always make sure you have an escape from the egg before you extract it, because you will get guys spawning on you, and getting trapped down an egg tunnel like this is one of the surest ways to die. So I didn't play that one very safe at all, but fortunately it did not result in my untimely demise. So we've called in the drop pod. Should be a pretty easy extraction, I'm guessing. I'm hoping I shouldn't have to use another resupply by the time this one is out, and still have a little bit of ammo left over for the start of next round. And so I already have a bunch of tunnels dug around the place, so sometimes it's easier just to follow Molly, rather than consulting your map and try and figure out the most efficient way to get back. And like I did in the first stage of the deep dive, spending time tunneling and then getting ambushed, sometimes it's best just to follow Molly and let her inform you of the best thing to do. And we're just going to grab this last little nitra on the way out. What's in your inventory does carry over into next mission. So there we go, stage 2 completed. Let's see if I can do stage 3 without choking and dying.
Let's go!
Minus, you've done very well so far. Judging from these readings, I have not doubt you'll make it through stage 3, but we'll see. You've surprised me before. Eyes on your objectives, let's get it done.
Control is so skeptical about our abilities. So I'm ordering a resplash straight away on this one because I didn't start with too much ammo. It's not immediately next to the Quark's drop-off station, but I think we'll be fine. It's in a nice open area that looks like it's a good place to fight swarms anyway. So get Bosco to freeze grenade I am having a mind blank and forgetting what that one is called. The one that spawns the annoying flying guys, that is definitely a priority target. So we get him to frost grenade that one, take it out straight away. Clear out the eggs as well, so they don't spawn the little guys. It's definitely the more efficient way to do it. And I'm about to restock, so may as well use my satchel charges here as well. There's no point holding on to them. So this mission is a Quarks and a Dreadnought, and this massive open cave we have here is absolutely perfect for Bosco. Oh my god, I could not ask for a better stage 3 deep dive spawn. This, I'm really confident about this, but I'm also very aware that I have failed similar missions before. I think the week before this, the third stage was also an Quark's Dreadnought mission, and I completed it, and then I died 3 times trying to extract from the mission. It was absolutely heartbreaking. I put so much time and effort into it just to die after I'd finished all the objectives. Absolutely crazy. So this one we're making full use of Bosco. Send him up to get all the Quarks you can see in weird locations. And Driller is obviously great to get any of the others no matter where they are, apart from maybe the Seal-In. The Seal-In's always a bit tricky for any class really, but maybe the Gunner with the zipline would be a bit better. But with Bosco and with a Driller, this is just going to go so quickly. So the swarms on this one are on a timer rather than linked to the objectives. So the idea is just smash as many Quarks out as you can, as quick as you can. And then you have to spend less time fighting. And you spend less ammo overall, even though the amount of objectives you've achieved are the same.
Swarm! I repeat, swarm!
So we have our first swarm of the mission, and we already have a very respectable amount of Quarks in the bank. And Bosco's just coming down with another one now. So we're making very good time on this last mission. The massive open cavern spawn is just plays to Bosco's strengths so well. So we're having a pretty good time so far. let's see how this spawn goes. Just topping up on health, making sure I go into it fully loaded. So the modifier for this elite deep dive is exploding bugs. I'm not sure if that's its proper name, but that's a good enough description. When you kill bugs, they explode, dealing damage around them, like you can see there. So, although that could be dangerous for the player, especially if you let guys get too close to you, it makes clearing out swarms of them so much easier. So I took a bit of health there, because I blew up a bunch of guys too close to me. But I've learnt my lesson, and now I just keep my distance, making use of my dash skill as well when I need to, and just using the swarming nature of the bugs against each other. It actually makes this last mission one of the easiest I've ever done. So we have a nice big open cavern to mine quarks, which is Bosco's strong suit. We can just click and point, and we have exploding bugs, which means swarms just get obliterated. So overall, a very good round, but like previously, I could still choke on the Dreadnought. If he kills you and Bosco reses you, you have very little health, so it could be like one of those snowballing effect things where you just keep dying and you never have enough health to effectively fight the Dreadnought. So although I'm very confident about the quarks, I'm very confident about the exploding bugs, I could still get messed up by the Dreadnought, especially if there's a swarm at the same time. All those horrible things that can happen probably will happen. So we'll see how everything goes. So we've got all our quarks now, just clearing out the last of the dudes before we go aggro the Dreadnought. And obviously stocking up on ammo so we can just unload without having to worry about running out. So the driller is not the most effective class to fight a Dreadnought. I think a gunner and engineer are probably your top tier choices for that. But the good thing about the Flamethrower is you don't have to target it at the Dreadnought's weak spot to do damage. So even though it's not very ammo efficient, and it does take a while, we are just going to spam the Dreadnought with our Flamethrower in a frontal attack. So good for solo play, because it means you don't have to rely on Bosco shooting it in the back, and you don't have to rely on trying running around and getting angle on the Dreadnought's weak spot. So it's good for solo play. Overall it's good, not very ammo efficient, but this is the last stage and we've got a ton of nitro now, so we're just going to blow through everything to finish this guy off. So our satchel charges is pretty good. They took down like 3/4 of his shield. That last one, not very effective though, I did miss a little bit there. And as you can see, the Flamethrower does respectful damage. We're using our dash to get out of dodge there. We don't want to get bogged down by a lot of little guys. We're going to always keep an eye on the Dreadnought for when he's doing his spitting attack, and dodge sideways for that one. Don't do a Prometheus and just run straight away from the thing that's going in a straight line towards you. Always dodge sideways. The thing has a pretty decent AoE to it as well. So I used my dash there because I thought he's spitballing, but it was actually, I think he was doing he might have been spitballing and then got interrupted by his shield break-in. Not 100% sure there, but we are uncomfortably close there. But we turn around and we finish him off. That was, again, one of the smoothest Dreadnought fights I have ever had. So just quickly restocking before we dispatch the minehead. At least once we can get the second one before anything bad spawns, because the last thing we want is to run out of ammo while we're waiting for the drop pod to come back down. So we're restocking. My nerves are on edge here. Even watching this back and commentating, I remember how freaking nervous I was. I was so close to finishing my first ever elite deep dive. If I die now, then what was even the point of the last hour worth of gameplay. So we're just playing it safe here. We managed to nuke that warden there before he managed to get out of his hole. Bosco's killing a few guys, blowing them up. We got a menace. Let's get a frost grenade on that one, and we should be able to take it out quite quickly. And unfortunately, it looks like it was in its wall animation there as the frost grenade hit. So, not as effective as that could have been, but sometimes Bosco is not the fastest with his reaction time. But we're just using the Volatile Guts modifier to clear these guys out really quite easily. Make sure we get that menace, gotta keep moving so it doesn't hit you. He does a lot of range damage. Make use of our melee attack there to buy us a bit of time. And again, I think every map on this deep dive has been radiation, so we have not been able to make use of the Praetorians' exploding gas cloud at all. They have another menace spawn, and now we're completely out of frost rockets. So we have to be careful. If we get a swarm on us now, it could be quite tricky. And you see, when I was reloading the pistol there, I had a quick look down and around to make sure I wasn't about to get swarmed by anything.
Keep it together. Drop pod is en route.
And we do have our dash skill to get out of tricky situations as well. So the guy, he burrows, he fires once or twice and then burrows. But the drop pod is here now, so hopefully it doesn't spawn in a terrible place and we can get out of here nice and easily. So just clearing out these bugs.
Clock is ticking. All up to you, team.
Clearing out this last Praetorian, and it's spawned down this hole here. Now I should have just jumped down to it. I was trying to play it too safe, and by playing it too safe, I actually took the unsafe option. So I don't want to jump down and take fall damage, even though it's not that far, and I really could. Instead, I'm thinking, oh, I'll just drill to it. And there's a lot of guys spawned in here, so I use my explosives, clear them out, do a quick drill, and hopefully I'm on the right trajectory here. But there we go, straight up into the drop pod. Probably would have been better just to drop down, but that's okay, we did the job. And that is my first ever elite dive done. Solo or in a group. This was the first one I have ever completed successfully. And I didn't actually realize that until I got a Steam achievement pop up around about now. I don't think the recording software will capture it, but I was very, very happy with that. And so here we have the final mission results. Driller Deep Dive Elite. Thanks for watching, everyone. Maybe in following weeks, I'll choose a different character, or maybe I won't bring Bosco with me. We'll see, there's plenty of things we can do to make this even more challenging. But thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good one, and see you next time.